So yeah, my first boyfriend didn't go that well. Welcome everyone to Powered and Protected by Rainbows. I'm of course your host, Professor Pride, and on today's show we're talking about my first ever boyfriend. But before we jump into the story, I'm going to leave a link down below so you can learn the signs of domestic abuse, learn how to stay safe, and know how to report it if it happens to you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join us in spilling the tea on horrible exes with our brand new ExFiles mug, available now using the link below. Anyway, on to story time. In June of 2018, I met this boy named Larry on Grindr, and he checkmarked quite a few boxes for me. He had a stable job, a license, and a car. He was really funny and knew how to act cute, which is always good in a relationship. Plus, he wanted more than just a one-night stand, and after 6 months on the Grindr app, I was getting pretty tired of the boys who only wanted pictures or looking for hookups. So, needless to say, Larry stood out from the rest. A few days into our conversation, he asked me out on a first date, and I told him that I have 3 rules on a first date. First is that I won't open my pants on a first date. Second is that I want to meet somewhere halfway between where him and I live, somewhere public and during daylight hours so it's safe for both of us. And third, I want a man who isn't afraid to hold my hand or kiss me in public. So when he agreed to those things, I happily agreed to a first date. And on June 5th, we met up at a local shopping mall because he actually lived pretty close to me. That first date was actually flawless. We got to talking and started to really get to know one another, which helped to build a solid foundation to our relationship. We started holding hands, even though my hand was a little sweaty from being nervous, and when we started walking outside the mall next to the parking lot, he leaned over and kissed me. Seeing that it was my first ever kiss in my entire life, I didn't do that great, but it felt like I was finally kissing who I was always meant to kiss. And even after everything else which happened after that first date, my first ever kiss is still a great memory of mine, looking back 2 years later now. On our second date, he drove us to a local state park, and we ended up just playing on the swing set, so I knew he had a fun spirit to act like a kid with me. By the third date, we ended up watching Love, Simon and making out on my couch all night, so I knew that I wanted him to officially be my first boyfriend. But after that third date was over, he never leaned in to kiss me ever again. Shortly after that third date, his mom and dad invited me to dinner at their house, so I gladly went, and I really enjoyed learning all about Larry's childhood. At the end of the meal, I offered to help clean the dishes with their parents, as any decent guest would, and apparently it really impressed his parents. About 3 weeks into our relationship, I went on vacation to Ocean City, Maryland. It was an 8-day-long vacation, which my family and I were planning for over a year. So by the time Larry and I started dating just 3 weeks prior to this vacation, it was far too late to invite him along to our family trip. Luckily, he completely understood the situation. The day before that vacation, I wrote him a song, because I knew the next week was going to be challenging without my boyfriend by my side for 8 days, and I thought a love song would help both of us. And before I left, Larry even gave me a stuffed animal, so I could take something with me to remind me of him. And I don't really care that I was 25 years old, because stuffed animals at any age is perfectly fine, because it was from my boyfriend. So every night on vacation, this little teddy bear got so many hugs. Every day, we would text each other to see how our day was going, and we would both say how much we missed each other. The day I got back from vacation, Larry had to work in the morning, but by the time I got home, he was done with his shift. So, stupid me, I thought maybe I can cuddle with him that night, but no such luck. The next day, he wasn't working at all, nor was he working the following day either. Even though he had 2 days off in a row, and even after I reminded him that I just got back from 8 days in a very small house with my family on vacation, so it was impossible for me to do anything alone, and maybe, just maybe, I was in the mood to do something, he still didn't want to see me at all. As it turns out, when you're cheating with other guys in parking lots late at night while your boyfriend is 200 miles away on vacation, you don't really notice that your boyfriend is gone. And when he comes back from vacation, you don't really feel the need to meet up with him right away because you never really slept with your boyfriend anyway. After that vacation, I should have watched closer for the warning signs, and I should have broken up with him right there. But hindsight is always 20/20. And when I was in that moment, I was falling in love, and I thought for a moment that he was too. About a month later, and about 2 months into our relationship total by this point, I went to surprise him at work for his lunch break. He was out of the closet at work, and most of his coworkers saw both of us in pictures together on Facebook. So I packed us a few sandwiches and drove 45 minutes just so I can spend 30 minutes with him. But for 30 minutes, he was trying to escape into employee areas, and later that night, it turned into a few hours of conversation on how rude it was of me to bring him lunch that day. Finally, about 3 months into our relationship, we went to the zoo together. It was a lifelong dream of mine to spend a day at the zoo with a man by my side, and some random stranger made that day perfect by offering to take our picture together, knowing that we were a gay couple. And I talk about that story in greater detail in a video called Top 3 Beautiful Stories of Random Strangers' Acceptance of LGBTQ. Honestly, that day was the best day in our whole relationship. But after we got back from the zoo that day, we started having a long talk about why he never wanted to sleep over each other's houses, and why he never even leaned in to kiss me after that third date was over. I had a feeling that he was cheating on me, but I wanted to know why he was willing to do those things with other people, but never once do any of those things with me, his boyfriend. His answer was in 2 parts. First, he told me that I should really take care of myself before I went on any dates with him. That way he wouldn't have to worry about things getting sexual. And secondly, he told me that I was too ugly for him. Yeah. But it didn't really surprise me because it was far from the first time he called me ugly. In fact, almost every time I said I love you to him after that third date was over, he called me ugly in return. That's how I thought relationships worked. I mean, my parents never got along and they never called each other cute or by any pet names, so my boyfriend calling me ugly was something I sadly accepted at the time. I was falling too hard and too fast for him. I was deathly afraid that if we broke up, my family and friends would start saying how I tried being gay and it didn't work. So I asked myself if they would want me to date girls again. Luckily, that was all in my head, and that's something I talk about in season 1 in an episode called Gay Breakups Straight People Don't Understand. But I put up with everything he did because of that fear. After our third date, Larry never once leaned in to kiss me anymore. But up until I went on vacation a month into our relationship, every time I leaned in to hug him, he would push me away. Every time I would lean in to kiss him, he would ever so slightly slap me on the cheek and pull his face away from mine. When I got back from vacation, it got worse. We would say goodnight to each other because, God forbid, he would come inside my house, and Lord knows the world would end if he invited me up to his bedroom, even though I kept a backpack full of clothes in my car for that reason. Now, on 3 occasions, I did guilt him enough to stay over, but cuddling was out of the question. The other side of my king-size bed wasn't near far enough away from me. Most times at the end of our dates, though, we would say goodnight outside on the street to each other. I would put my arms around him in order to hug him, and before I knew it, he pushed me to the asphalt, and my ass was on the ground. Whenever I would lean in to kiss him, the most I would get was a chicken peck on his lips before his hand was slapping my cheek harder and harder as the months went by. I asked myself the question, how much longer until it escalated again? But it was 3 months into our relationship when we went to the zoo that day, like I said. That night, I still sat there for hours with him, talking about everything. Eventually, I told him that I needed a week-long break from our relationship. We weren't supposed to see other people, but I wanted to know for sure if I could wake up and not feel the need to text him good morning. A few days later, I used the same coping technique I learned when I was 9 years old. I sat down at my piano and I wrote a song called Better Off Alone. It was the first time I ever wrote and recorded a song on the same day, but recording it greatly helped me understand what I was going through. Thanks to that song and a very long phone call with my very supportive sister, I finally decided it was over. Later that afternoon, I went to his house and his mom answered the door. She came outside on the porch with me before her son came down the stairs, and she saw the look in my eyes. I never told her, but she knew what was about to happen, as all good mothers do. She just gave me a massive hug and told me that I'll find someone who truly deserves me one day. In her own words, I am a far better man than her son will ever be. She reminded me of that family dinner where I offered to help clean the dishes, and she told me that was the day she and her husband both knew I was too good for Larry. As for Larry, there were no words to say other than goodbye. On the way home, I shed a few tears, but I stopped on the side of the road and opened up YouTube to publish that song. As it turns out, when you abuse someone for 3 months and take advantage of them, don't be surprised if they write a song about you and publish it 5 minutes after they tell you goodbye. As for what I learned, well, I know that I'm worth far more than I sometimes give myself credit for, partly thanks to his mother, who I am still friends with to this day. He was the first of 3 men I dated thus far, and the first of 3 men who cheated on me, so I consider myself lucky enough to know almost all of the warning signs of a boy cheating on me. I now know what it's like to be called ugly on a daily basis, and in these ExFiles, I feel the need to be completely honest with you. Those words mess with my head a lot after we broke up. I thought by dating someone new, it would help erase those words, but that second boyfriend literally ended up calling me ugly too. Again, I thought by dating a third boyfriend, it would help. But still to this day, no man has ever proved them wrong by showing me that I'm not ugly. The sad truth is, when you're called ugly in the first 2 relationships in your life, and when no boyfriend ever wants you, it messes with your head. Those words, "you're ugly," feed off of your loneliness and causes severe depression, which I still struggle with 2 years later now. In many ways, I'm still hoping his mother was right. Someday, I'll find a man who deserves my surprise picnic lunches, someone who wants to see me after I'm gone for 8 days, someone who won't abuse me, cheat on me, call me ugly, and someone who will lean in to give me a kiss from time to time too. Until then, rather than being with someone who doesn't love me in return, I've learned that I'm much better off alone. And as for his little teddy bear, well, I think it's about time to say goodbye. Welcome to Destroy a Bear Workshop, where all of Larry's bears come to be abused, just like he abused me. In a total coincidence of costumes today, he gave me this shirt for my birthday that year, so to hell with it too. And remember kids, don't try anything you're about to see at home. I'm only allowed because I'm a TV show host. We have the safety training to keep us safe at all times, and because I'm a professional gay.
Look at him. It's as if he knows what's coming.
That was funny. Okay. The face alone. You look so sad. See why we told you not to do this, kids? So did it go as I planned? No. It was supposed to saw right in half, and it was supposed to stay on the thing. That did not work. But this might have been a cooler, much cooler thing. There we go. There's a pair. For the record, we were going to take this outside and get this on this little teddy bear on the grill and use some propane to completely combust it. But that kind of fell through because in our town there's an ordinance apparently that says basically if you set a fire outside of like charcoal and stuff for a grill or propane for a grill, then you get a $1,000 fine. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just like, well, let's just do it this way and let's have some fun with the circular saw instead. Probably there'll be like fibers of fabric in this forever. The stomach is not even done. Wow. So that happened.
Well, there's your problem.
Now, if that doesn't make you subscribe to our channel, I don't know what will. But don't forget to get our brand new ExFiles mug available now in our merchandise store, so you can spill the tea with us next episode of ExFiles. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.
And after all this time, I still feel like I'm just sleeping and dreaming and in this alone. And after all this time, I finally realized that I'm sleeping and dreaming and better off alone.
Watch Powered by Rainbows Season 3, only on MHP TV.